Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR Preppy, and welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel where we just talk about preparedness. We really talk about what my family does as far as natural disasters, different events that could happen throughout the world and our country, and what we're doing to help give you tips, okay? I do a lot of food preservation, that type of thing. So yesterday's video was a premiere. So there was a live chat. It was pre-recorded videos, and then I do a live chat. And I had at the end a young lady that was asking a lot about my videos and if I had videos on apartments, apartment living, prepping, preparedness with apartments, that type of thing. And I realized that I often talk about apartments. I try to sprinkle that in, right, to just give a variety in every video that I'm doing as far as the topic to help give that group of people that are watching ideas as well. Well, I didn't really have a dedicated video just to apartments only, and so I'm going to do that today. I want to talk about preparedness in general, prepping in general. Can you do that in an apartment? How to do that in an apartment? What does that look like? And I'm going to cover a couple things: food, water, meds, and how to really keep people out of your business. Because I think when it comes to apartments, the two biggest things is space to actually stack stuff, right? And then people being in your business, right? Multiple people have keys to that space, and you're not safe in the sense of you're the only person, you did the locks, you're the only one with the key, that type of thing. You have a lot of traffic and a lot of instances. There's a lot of traffic going through your home, strangers essentially that are coming into your home, doing different functions, doing different things. And so there's not a lot of privacy, right? There's not a lot of ability to really hide what happens behind closed doors because you have a lot of foot traffic. Now, I understand that everybody's situation is different. All apartments are different, right? So some folks have apartments and they're probably saying in the comments, nobody's ever gone into my apartment, right? Or they don't go without my consent, or they don't go without my written consent, or whatever. Well, that case may be, right? However, there's somebody else with a key to your apartment, and you do not know what is happening possibly when you are not there, or if an emergency happens and they have to enter, they can enter, okay? And it becomes, what does a person see, right, when they enter your place of where you live, right? A lot of judgment, a lot of knowing exactly what's happening and what you're doing, which then could then cause you to be a target, right? If people, let's say a basic maintenance person walks in and sees that, oh, you stockpile water, you clearly stockpile water, you clearly stockpile food, and then when something bad happens, stores close, can't get stuff, they're going to remember this place that they went once upon a time that had stuff, okay? Because that's survival, right? That's going to kick in, okay? So let's talk about a few things. I'm going to talk to you about a few thought processes. We, being in the military, have lived in several apartments over the years, several. We've lived in condos, we've lived in homes, we've rented. Most of the time, we bought this home, but obviously we weren't here all the time. My sister lived here when we were not here. And so we've lived everywhere, and we've lived in any and every kind of home you could think of. Tiny, tiny apartments, everything, right? And so even for us as preparedness folks, we put off preparing for a long time in regards to stocking the things because we were moving so much, right? We didn't stop stocking stuff, but really the self-sufficient stuff we didn't start. Like the food preservation stuff just never got started because we knew we were constantly leaving. Plants never got started. Gardens never got started because we were always leaving. And when we leave for half a year, right? Now, if you have a job where it takes you away for a week, 2 weeks here and there throughout the year, that's fine because you could set up auto watering systems. You can set up stuff to take care of your situation. However, when the military, you just leave, and when it's time to leave, you leave for half a year or a year, right? That's a big chunk that you can't, ain't no water system going to help you with that situation. But this last apartment we had before we came home, I stacked it to the hilt because I knew mentally we're coming home. So I'm starting the food preservation. I started pressure canning. I started the garden. I didn't care anymore because I knew we were leaving. I say all that to say that apartments are dangerous. right? Dangerous in so many aspects when it comes to preparedness, and overall the goal should be to get away from that situation. However, I still think to this day that if I was going to stay in an apartment and knew that that's where we were going to live forever, I would have made it work, okay? And it would have looked a little bit different than I had it set up, because it would have been a totally different thought process, because I would have been thinking about it from a long-term thought process, right? Some things that come to mind with apartments. Yes, you can prep in an apartment. Does it take creativity? Absolutely. Determination? Yes. Thought process? You really have to slow down and think about the thought process in regards to organization, storage, how to organize it in a way that's conducive for you living in the apartment, but also concealment in the apartment, keeping it from out of view from people, right? But still having the ability to stockpile stuff, to keep things, to store things, right? Let's see what else I had on here. I don't want to say you have to be sneaky, but you have to be deliberate, right? When you have a house that has extra rooms or extra space, or maybe a bonus room, or all these things, right? You don't necessarily, I still have to think about keeping things hidden, because people come into my homes, whether they're friends, families, whether I have a worker come in to do something, some sort of maintenance, some sort of fixing, reno stuff, right? And so I still have the concealment aspect to my preparedness, right? But it's different when I have plenty of dressers, I have built-in storage, I have plenty of cubbies that I can put totes and different things in, to where I'm not having to be so deliberate about what I'm doing. Whereas in an apartment, you have to be very deliberate with where you're putting things, right? So that you can actually maximize the space that you have available to you. I don't care if you've got a studio, you could do this, right? But you have to be deliberate, right? If I lived in a studio, I'm being deliberate with my furniture pieces, right? I'm having armoires. I'm having nice big dressers. I'm buying furniture pieces that are double as storage, and maybe necessarily you don't know that it's storage. There's all types of creative stuff on the market there. I'm utilizing tote systems. I'm utilizing just all types, closet systems, utilizing all my spaces. When you think of a small space, a small apartment, I think vertical. You have to go high. There's so much space that is available. Just doing a nice shelving around a room can be beautiful, okay? Decor-wise can be beautiful. I'm not saying do that and then stock, canned goods up there and somebody walks in and so. Be deliberate, okay? You can do this though. Closets are notorious for extra space, dead corners when you walk into a closet that aren't for anything, that could easily stack several totes that you could fill, that could go all the way to the ceiling. The shelving, yeah, you can put stuff on the shelving, but people don't utilize the space above that, right? They just put one thing on the shelf, it kind of goes up, but that closet goes all the way up. You could put another shelf, or you could get totes and stack them up to the ceiling in there. Think about your dead space and think about concealment. Let's talk about a couple things that I hear of people that they say they cannot do in an apartment. Let's talk about gardening. So a lot of people, I can't garden. Okay, got it. Landlord says you can't garden. You can't garden. Maybe you have a patio, maybe you do not. If you have a patio and you're allowed to garden, you better be gardening. Use that patio for gardening. Get it going. Let's say you can't garden on the patio, then that means you got to bring it in. You're not going to stop me, okay? Maybe I can't bring it in and have a garden with grow lights and all that stuff because they come in, they see, I told you you can't have a garden. You can't have a garden inside either. All these grow lights and stuff, this is a fire hazard, right? If they're coming in and they're telling you and seeing this stuff and they're like, you can't do it, then you can't do it. However, nothing's stopping you, unless the clause says you can't have house plants. Get beautiful pots, plant herbs, plant medicinal plants, plant them throughout the house. Treat them like your other house plants, right? Put them in spaces that are next to windows, right? So they can get natural lighting. Put them by lamps where they can get natural lighting. Get some clip-on extra lights that you can clip onto your fancy lamp at night, so to give the plants extra light that you then unclip during the day, or you unclip really quickly if somebody's coming, right? Maintenance person, whatever. Unclip all the extra lights, put them away, and you just have your beautiful plants everywhere throughout your apartment. Think vertical. If they're not going to scream, get a fancy, beautiful vertical wall garden and have beautiful herbs growing out of it. Nothing fancy. It's decor. It looks beautiful. Nobody freaks out over that, right? Oh, you're growing tomatoes in your apartment, right? There's a lot of stuff you can do, right? I just think that when you let people tell you no, then at the end of the day, and you accept that, then it is what it is, right? It takes some determination to do this in general, to do prepping in general. But if you're in an apartment, yes, there's a lot of walls. You have a lot of, I can't do this. I can't do this. Okay, you can't do it that way. How could you do it should be the next question, right? I can't garden outside. I'm not allowed to, okay? Two things I'm asking myself is, how do I bring in some sort of plants inside my home? I've had people tell me I have zero counter space. You're telling me you have no kitchen counter space, you have no bathroom counter, you have no window seals, you have nothing. Okay, hang plants on your windows, your blinds holder, hang plants up there. To just say that you have nothing, right? Do you have a kitchen table? Do you have an entertainment center that has a flat space? Do you have side tables? Do you have other stuff? Or are you telling me you just have this space where you just stand in this apartment and you have nothing, right? I get what people are trying to tell me, because it's space. I understand that. I understand that you only have so much space, so you have to do what you can do for your space. Everybody's situation is different, right? People hit me up all the time. I'm a roommate. I have just my room. I can't do anything. You can't do anything? So your room has a bed. You have a dresser? Okay, the dresser has flat space that you could put a couple lamps on, regular lamps, okay? And could put some plants, and you can do it in a way where it doesn't look like you're doing a vegetable garden, right? I'm just talking about having house plants that possibly maybe grow something, right? At a minimum, do your medicinal plants then. Just do herbs for cooking. And people say something, yeah, I like to cut a little bit of rosemary for my chicken, right? Do the basics. You don't have to go all out and be growing tomato plants and pepper plants and have your big totes of potatoes and all this stuff. You are doing what you can do with the space that you have, okay? But it takes a deliberation, it takes determination to do that and to make it work, okay? Okay, can't garden on that balcony or that patio, then utilize it for something else. Put stacked bottles of water. Maybe you don't like that because now somebody can see. Can't have a barrel of water out there. They're like, no way. Okay, get those nice big garden totes that have there looks like a trunk. Get a few of those, open them up, put bottled water in them, put canned food in them, put something in them, close them, put a lock on it, right? And when somebody's, first of all, nobody's going to be asking that. It's nice, it's clean. But let's just say it came up. It's none of their business. Oh, there's just tools in there, right? If, your landlady comes through and oh, what do you have in these totes? Oh, it's just my tools and stuff, wrenches and stuff, right? Just basic things, right? Water. Now, water does get a little bit more tricky, right? You got to utilize stackables, in my opinion. You got to utilize everything in your food pantry, in your kitchen, everywhere you can, having extra either cases of bottled water, bottled water, and having stackables. So we, in an apartment, we had tons of 3.5 bricks, water bricks, 3.5 gallon water bricks, and we had 5 gallon stackables, right? And you could get those. We would stack them at different locations. I would hide them. Some examples, I'd put them in the closet, then throw a blanket or a sheet over them. If normally, if somebody's coming maintenance, they're not going into the closets. So my closets were full of water, and then I had a blanket over in case somebody happened to open it. But that stuff normally isn't happening, right? With apartments, you have to just think smartly of, okay, when people come in, all the people that come in to check different things, what are they normally having to access, right? So any room that has a fire and alarm, when they walk in to check that, what is visible, right? What can be seen from where you're at, as far as preps, right? Can they see tons of stacked water? Can they see food? Can they see shelving with tons of pressure can food and canned food and all this stuff, right? Think about that. Think about our apartments. They were always coming in. Hey, the gas company's coming in to check the gas line. They're going to come in and check all, where the dryer hooks up, where the stove hooks up. They're going to check all those connections, right? So they're checking that. The water people are coming in. They're going to check for leaks. They're checking behind the toilet. They're checking under the sinks. Under the sinks, right? Having a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the sinks. Again, they have smaller totes. Get black ones or a color that you can't see through. Put all your cleaners in that. Put all your extra stuff that you're buying, that's you're stockpiling different stuff, and stack it under there. And they go under there and look. You can have some cleaners and some stuff out that just looks natural, like stuff you would see under a sink. But there's those totes. Nobody's going to be thinking, oh, why do you have these small organizers down here? No. First of all, they're not going to be thinking about it. They got stuff to do, okay? But it conceals stuff. It keeps it clean. You're organized. And you're able to stack things, right? Different things. And stack things where they go, right? I don't know. I just think that when it comes to apartments and concealing, it's not that hard. I had a gal last year. She was in, this is before we ever moved. This was in my Discord, and she was saying how maintenance was about to come. My ear's sticking out. How maintenance was about to come and do an inspection, and she had a room that just had tons of bags and just different food and water and different stuff she had bought, right? Just preps, things that she had bought. And she's like, I don't have time to put it away, whatever. I was like, girl, throw all that stuff in the center of the room, throw a sheet over it, get some paint supplies, put the paint supplies there, have a piece of furniture in there. And then if they go asking about anything, yeah, I was about to paint this piece of furniture here. Sorry about the mess. You know what I'm saying? Boom, right? All her stuff. You could have thrown it in a closet. Maybe there was not space for that, but it takes creativity, right? You've got to think, how can you conceal this stuff? How can you make it so people don't know your business, right? Let's talk about garages. Another question I get for those that have apartments that are blessed with a garage. I've been told, well, I can't do it. I do have a garage, but it only fits the car only. There is no space, period. Like, you pull the car in, there's just enough to walk around the car and go to the outlet or whatever. Okay, cool. Is the roof like this short, or does it go all the way up, right? You could install shelving all along those 3 sides of the garage, right? Or maybe 4 above the door as well, right? And you could put totes up there, put heavy duty storage, get it installed, right? And then put totes up there, right? Or put bottled waters up there, or put your stackable waters up there, right? And then you pull into your garage, you're not using any of your usable space or not usable space, and you have that above head, right? I would venture that there's still maybe room for a corner unit that you could put, utilize the corner, get corner shelving and put some stuff there, right? You stop telling yourself you can't do stuff. If somebody says you can't do that, don't do that, you're not allowed to do that, the next question should be, how could I do it then? How can I make this possible? How can I make it possible to get water in this apartment and stack as much as possible? How does it make sense for me to keep food? Utilizing your furniture is huge. A good dresser, go to Habitat for Humanity too. A lot of people, I don't have money. Habitat for Humanity, huge fan, right? Go there, go to the thrift stores, right? Go to Goodwill. Tons of dressers at Goodwill for $30, right? $30. Some of them need some love. Cheap, okay? Habitat for Humanity. Tons of hutches, tons of armoires, tons of dressers. Cheap, 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 okay? I cannot stress enough that there is places out there that you can get these storage pieces without having to go and get fancy metal, fancy shelving. You have to conceal that anyway. So getting a shelf like that to just put in a room, like say you have an extra room in your apartment. You're blessed. You have a 3-bedroom and you have an extra room, right? Kiddos are in one, you're in one, and you have an extra room. It does you no good to just have shelving all in that room And then you have food, your pressure canning, you're doing all the things. And yes, you're blessed with this space, but you set it up in a way where now anybody who comes in every single time, they can see what you're doing, right? They know all your business, that you have a room full of food, right? And now you're being called all types of names, hoarding. One, you're a target, okay, because they will remember that food in that room on all the shelves set up all nice and neat, and cases of water in the corner and all of this stuff. But if you took that room and were deliberate about it and put a bed, right, for guests, put water under the bed, cases of water, put food in the headboard behind the headboard, right? Put a piece of plywood on the back, fill it with food, and then put a piece of plywood on the back of the frame, right? Deliberate pieces, furniture, right? A dresser, full of stuff. You can fill it with food, then put a piece of board down, and then have some your extra blankets, extra towels, extra sheets, that type of thing. So that if anybody gets nosy or you have guests that need some space, you've got some space, right? Filling and utilizing this space, right? Under dressers, a lot of dressers go all the way to the floor, but there's like this much space underneath the dresser, putting food in there, right? There's so many options. Armoires, do a beautiful wall of armoires. And the first thing is if you live in an apartment, nobody's going to come in and be like, why do you have all this storage? Why do you have all these dressers and these armoires? Because I live in an apartment and I don't have any space. What are you talking about, right? It makes sense, right? You need space. If you have space above a cabinet and you have, let's say, 6 totes up there and people come in, first of all, they can't see it, right? It's concealed. But if you have people asking, like, what are all those totes? Are you kidding me? I live in an apartment. That's all my Halloween decorations. That's my Christmas decorations. Whatever hobby you have, that's extra DVDs. That's my extra cassettes. That's my whatever, right? That's my extra art supplies. So you don't have to, you can have these little stories ready, but when you conceal stuff, they don't know what's in that stuff. And if somebody ever says something like, well, why do you have... Hello, I live in an apartment. I don't know if you know that I don't have a lot of space here. And, I can't keep all my kids' toys out. That's extra toys because we don't have the space to have all their toys out and about, right? So it comes to organizing your stuff. It comes down to being deliberate where you're putting things, being deliberate about furniture pieces, how that furniture will benefit you in the space that you have. It's about being creative. It's about going vertical. It's about being, when you're told you can't do something, how do you get around doing that? A lot of people on the balcony, they have a little storage area, right? That has their washer and dryer maybe. Utilize those cabinets. Usually there's space above the cabinets, right? Nobody's going to say anything if you throw a shelf up there and you have some extra soap up there. If they happen to open that, okay, they got some extra soap up there. Or again, you want to conceal more, put the extra soap in a tote and put the totes up there. And somebody asks, oh, it's just my extra laundry stuff. Oh, it's just tools. Oh, it's my garden stuff because, I can't garden here, so I have it all stored up there. Like, this isn't rocket science, but I think that a lot of people just get discouraged that there's not a lot of space. Another thing too is downsize. A lot of people have a lot of crap that they just don't need, that you are storing in those totes and taking up space that is not needed, right? Downsize in the sense of get rid of that stuff to make space for the important stuff. Okay. What else? Water, security, apartments. I mean, we used to think all the time how we would block off stuff, how we would protect windows. Our windows treatments that we have now for nuclear fallout, like the wood treatments and all this stuff, we did that for the apartment. We had wood that was cut to size for our windows to put up on our apartment windows that we kept in the house. You can keep them behind furniture pieces, big armoires, you can keep them behind. You can put them under beds. If you have a frame that doesn't have the middle piece, you can just slide the wood. We have wood behind bed frames because the bed frame has a space, right? A gap. So we put the wood behind that. So just what I'm saying is, don't tell yourself you can't do this stuff. You absolutely can do this stuff. Start a garden. Starting a garden maybe is not hey, I have a room or I have a corner. I'm going to have a ton of plants and I'm going to have grow lights on it. Maybe for you, you can't do that. So they're spread out all throughout the house. Set them under different lamps, okay? Set them by light where you would normal house plants, right? Hang them, go vertical, but have them kind of spread out all over, that they're just nice decor type plants, but they're methodic. You're deliberate in the plants that you're choosing to grow, right? Microgreens, things like that. Find a nice place and grow in a nice, pleasing way, right? It's not where people come in and they're not like, oh, that's a garden, or oh, that's food. They don't know, right? I don't know. I think that you will continue to not do things and to sit down and be still if you keep allowing people to tell you to do that. People tell you to sit down and be still, and you're like, okay. And as soon as they say, you can't do that, okay. You're not allowed to do, okay. Well, you can't possibly do that because you're in an apartment. Oh, you're right. You can do it. It just is harder. All the people that have come to me over the last year and said, well, I can't do what you're telling me to do. Well, how can you do it? What do you have to change in your situation to be able to do it for your situation, right? I have a studio. You're telling me all to do all this stuff. I can't do it. Can you? Or do you just have to do it a different way, right? You can't do it specifically the way I may be suggesting to do it. But you can do it if you slow down, you sit down, and you deliberately think about how you could execute it. You could do it. Okay. So I'm not sure if this video is going to answer this young lady's questions about, hey, prepping in an apartment. I think that when you're thinking about apartment too, a lot of it is security. A lot of it is a lot more eyes watching you in a neighborhood. Yeah, you still have neighbors, you still have eyes, but an apartment, it's that many more watching. We would bring in stuff at night. We would bring in stuff in a cart. So people didn't see all of the stuff we were getting, right? We had stuff delivered. So again, that's a double-edged sword. People see, oh, they get a lot of deliveries, but these days, a lot of people get a lot of deliveries, especially if you have neighbors and they're all getting a ton of Amazon or they're all getting a ton of packages. Then don't be scared of that so much and utilize and capitalize on that. If you are in an apartment and you have a lot of neighbors that do a lot of Amazon, a lot of stuff, then it doesn't look that weird that you're doing that, right? And so get your stuff delivered like that, right? Instead of you having to bring it in and they see you bringing in all this stuff, some of the stuff you're getting delivered, okay? Just think it through, bringing stuff in bags, backpacks, little by little, just not letting people see a whole lot. You have to be almost gray man from the beginning, in my opinion, when you live in an apartment. Okay. The goal should be to get away from that, because urban environments are going to be a cesspool of violence and chaos. That's where it's going to happen. If you're fearful of lockdowns and different types of New World Order stuff, Great Reset stuff, socialism, different things that could happen in the future, that stuff's going to happen in urban environments. That stuff's going to happen in cities, right? Not to mention just the dangers of living in an apartment that you are, have to hope and pray that, your place doesn't burn down because the neighbor doesn't know how to light candles and watch them effectively and don't have safety protocols in place, right? You're depending on them being smart and deliberate and safe, right? So there's a lot of dangers that come with living in a dwelling like that, right? And I'm not here to tell you what to do, but think about it, right? Because the goal and the stuff we teach here is trying to get out and be self-sufficient. And I'm not saying you can't do that in an apartment. You absolutely can. It's just harder, and it's going to be a little bit more deliberate, and you give yourself more options if you can break away from that. And this is no different from people that rent a home, that can't do certain things, that have somebody else that has a key to that place. They have a little bit more freedom, or the space is bigger, obviously, but it's the same deal, right? The goal is to be self-sufficient, get your own stuff, buy your own home, buy your own land, and get it done, right? But what I talked about today, hopefully will inspire you that if you have an apartment, that you can do this, okay? You just have to be deliberate, all right? So I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and we'll see you later. Bye.